I just wanted to beat Def Jam. And not only did I want to beat Def Jam, I wanted to step on their neck and break their neck. Right? And I've known Russell since I'm 16 years old.
Right.
Right? So, not in a violent way.
Competition.
Just
not in a violent way.
Right?
Just one step on the neck and break it.
Right.
I was violent.
Step on them.
And,
right.
And the only thing I cared about, if we did 121,000, that's all I gave a fuck about. Like, that we would beat them. Because they were the king of the hill.
Mm-hmm. So you flooded RZA's basement.
I didn't.
Shorty wanna blow me, then bro me. She told me that I gotta keep it low key. Somebody got a cuff like the police. That's why she always acting like the homie. Shorty wanna blow me, then bro me. She told me that I gotta keep it low key. Somebody got a cuff like the police. So she come around acting like the homie. I just want to get right to it. Look. No introductions, no interruptions. When I roll into functions, just know that it's tucked in. Like I wore a tux in. Say hello to Justin. Justin for making something out of nothing. Mama told me I'm a star. Them haters said I wasn't. Now I'm looking at a mugging from a V-dozen shrugging. Feeling like McLovin. I'm becoming a conundrum. These dum-dums forgot where I come from. There's nothing that we run from. BK, niggas know the status. Got like 2 spots in the top 3 rappers. This hot full trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.
Alright, we back. My expert opinion, you know why you're here. I don't gotta tell you. I don't gotta tell you. Mac, what's good, bro?
Salute, King.
How we doing?
Nigga slows.
You couldn't tell nobody that we could do the whole loud hoodie theme, like it just
you don't do hoodies
had
the
to
way
be
your hoodies
you,
don't
right?
hoodie the way my hoodies hoodie.
Your
hoodies don't hoodie the way.
My hoodie's really hoodie.
No, my hoodie is really hoodie. Your hoodies
don't
are like
hoodie
fashion.
The way my hoodies hoodie.
Your hoodies are fashion, bro.
Your
Our hoodies are 2 different hoodies.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That is a
this
fact.
we absolutely agree. We are not the same.
Yeah.
Hence, Gap, what up?
I'm here, you know what I mean? Happy to be here.
SPINOZO, I'm here. Just make sure y'all follow my Instagram and my YouTube at SPINOZO World. My numbers is low. I'm blaming Mav. Gotta get my numbers up.
Why you blaming me? Why you blaming me?
How's that view from under the bus?
Blame Mecca. Blame Mecca.
As I'm shooting you bail, that's what
Blame
you
his
do?
hoodies, man. His hoodie ain't hoodieing for you.
Apparently,
That's the
these are
problem.
yours.
But follow me at SPINOZO World on Instagram and YouTube.
What's goody? I'm A.
Oh, nigga skipped you, bro.
I mean,
That's crazy.
I guess because but I think my hoodie's hoodie. What you think?
I tend to agree.
Okay.
I tend to agree. That's a very nice.
All right.
That's a very.
Tell
nice.
them the backstory behind it.
Okay.
I
The
don't
back.
need to.
The backstory. He gave me the hoodie. The backstory to this hoodie,
It's
man.
very nice. Shout out to Savoir Faire. Shout out to the brother Chris Classic. That's one of his. He ran a couple of rare ones off, and that's one of them. Shout out to
Shout out to Mike B for the Bogart joints. You know what I'm saying?
Mr. Mac on YouTube, Instagram. Come on, follow.
All the way A on Instagram. I mean, I guess.
The Brooklyn Way.
I got the whole gang in here going crazy. I love y'all niggas. Man said, yo, get you. That's what you here for, nigga. Promote your shit, nigga.
It is.
All right. Everybody heard it.
Timothy.
I'm pretty sure I brought my outfit at the Garden State Mall. A lot different.
It's all good.
No
Look
hoodie in
good.
today. Thank you.
That's not a hoodie.
Yeah.
That is a hoodie.
Well, you know, it's not the
Sheesh.
flex hip hop hoodie type of thing that I try to do with you, but I just wanted to be stated that no, I cannot keep up, and it's gonna be some dresses. I'm gonna pull out some dresses.
Golf
Yeah.
clap.
So I gotta.
Golf clap.
So you know what I'm saying? Like
I'm
I
not
did it
mad at
earlier.
that. I'm not
Gonna be
mad
some
at that.
dresses, all right? But
We all can't wear hoodies all the time.
But check this out. My numbers ain't as low as Spin, but you can still follow me.
Why was that necessary? Why?
Kim Osorio won. I'm just speculating. I don't even know. You just said it was low.
shots
And you can
fired.
subscribe to my YouTube at Kim Osorio or at Kim Osorio Media. KIMOSORIO
I ain't like that.
We all
shot.
doing it.
I ain't like that. Shot.
Why y'all all
You
doing
said
it?
it was
It's
low.
at the
I didn't-
bottom of the screen
You blame-
every episode.
He said it
You
was
blame
low.
math, nigga. Like how you can put me mad
I
at
just piggybacked off of what you said.
My
Like
number
I
is
didn't
crazy.
Spin.
Yeah, see that guy.
I'm gonna start blaming y'all for low numbers. How about that?
I was trying to be funny, but you know, I'm glad to be here with you guys. Y'all know how I feel.
We
about
love you, Ken. We love you,
Love
Ken.
you guys
You're
too.
Got the intro?
No, you got the hoodie on.
Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, we are welcoming to the show today a true pioneer, true cornerstone of this culture. He signed some of your favorites out of nowhere. He was the original rule breaker. He did things to the point where the other major labels plotted their moves around him. He's every executive's blueprint. I said that before, but I'm saying it again because it's still true. All your favorites, most of your favorites, influenced or came through this dude right here. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Steve Rifkind.
Yeah.
Loud Records own Steve Rifkind.
Steve, yo. As you forgot to throw in SRC.
I
You
did.
didn't bring that hoodie, huh?
Nah,
Yeah.
because I can only wear one at a time. What's wrong with you?
I don't think we ever made an SRC hoodie. You talking about the record company or the marketing company?
Either one. Did you make
No, we never. We I think with the Loud starter jackets that we did, I think we had an SRC
patch on it?
patch on it, but
Right.
it was. But I don't think we never really did anything SRC wise.
That's all right. This logo is legendary.
Definitely is.
This one right here. Responsible for, run down the list,
Yeah, sure.
Big Pun, Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, The Alcoholics, Dead Prez. I said Big Pun, right? Remy Ma. I feel like I'm forgetting a bunch of them.
You are
I feel like I'm forgetting
Exhibit.
so many. X to the Z Exhibit.
MOP.
I said The Alcoholics, right?
You said the alcohol.
MOP.
3-6.
3-6 Mafia. You didn't just stay on the East Coast, West Coast, all
Twister.
sides.
Twister was the first artist ever signed to that.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
I didn't,
was
Adrenaline
the
Rush.
first.
Huh?
Adrenaline Rush was on Loud.
No, running off of the mouth.
The one we broke the record.
Yeah.
Got you. That's okay. Shit. Yeah, I definitely forgot a bunch of them.
Okay, but before we started the intro, you mentioned that your family was responsible for the first hip hop record.
Say that over, math. That shit was crazy.
Nah, the mic picked it up.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Your family.
Yes.
That.
But they had a label called Spring Records.
Uh-huh.
So on that label was Millie Jackson, Joe Simon, Fatback Band, and a guy by the name of James Brown. But with James, they put it through Polydor because my dad and uncle brought Polydor into the country. They were a German company. And they said, we're starting this new record company and we need to build a brand. And this was, I want to say, late 60s, early 70s. I was a kid. And, but James was signed to Spring through Polygram, but even though it said the Polydor logo.
Wow.
Where did Russell Simmons come in?
I met Russell in 1979, the fall of 79. Spring's office was on 54th Street and 7th Avenue. And you had every type of human being walking through that office. Sharpton had an office in there. The Mob had an office in there. And it was just one character after another.
When you say the Mob had an office in there.
Yeah, you don't really think of the Mob
Yeah.
having like a mailing address.
Yeah.
They had a whole section. They had half the floor. Say this is Spring, you go through that door, and it's a whole different.
All right, it's just the Mob.
So I forget the hotel on 54th Street.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the London Hotel now.
I don't go to
or the Regal Royal. Like, I mean, that's where it started. So that used to be Strip Club Row.
54th.
54th between 7th and 6th. Where the Hilton is.
Oh, wow. Yeah?
Oh,
that
shit.
block?
Yeah, so up to the Ziegfeld Theater, it used to be all strip clubs. So, I mean, I was a kid. I don't know, but
Right.
the strip is, you know, a calm chain, you know, and that's where
that was
they
the
would be.
headquarters.
Yeah. And then my dad had a younger brother who wasn't in the business, but he cut hair. So he would do all the strippers' hairs. And I mean, it was amazing, you know. And then as I got older, you know, he was a lot younger than them, and he said, "Hang it over here," like, you know. But it was, yeah. So you had every character, and then, you know, one day I'm just in the reception area, and I'm talking to the receptionist, and I guess my father must have said something to Russell. It was like, "I'll call you on Monday." And it was regarding Jimmy Spice's Dollar Bill, y'all, the record Dollar Bill, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell, as he was walking out the door, he didn't mean any harm, nothing. He was like, "I'm giving you till Monday." So these guys who were sitting on the couch took it like they were threatening my father. And they got up, and they were literally ready to just hang him out the window. And my dad said, "No." I said I was going to call him. "Sit down, guys." Like.
Right.
I told him I was going to call him on Monday, and that's how me and Russell met.
Wow. Wow.
Saving his life. Yeesh.
From there, I mean, how did that impact you putting that record out? Like, what was the vibe in the streets and in music at that time?
In 1980?
Yeah.
I mean, so I grew up in Long Island, right? I grew up in a town called Merrick. So I never went to the rooftop. You know, but there, you know, so when I started going into the city, I was just really working in the mailroom and interning and just listening. I wasn't really doing much. So I really didn't know what the vibe was. I just turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
So the year after, it took 2 years to put out the record, and I don't know why. The year after, like, I started understanding, like, you know, at that time, there was a station called WB, well, there's still a station, BLS, right? And Frankie Crocker was the program director, you know, let him rest in peace. They were controlling, you know, I remember Frankie playing The Message for 30 minutes straight with Grandmaster Flash. And literally spoke, it was like almost like a biopic. Like, he spoke about this record, how important this record is, and played it for 30 minutes. Literally, the drive from Long Island to the city is 45 minutes. He must have played it for 30 minutes. So BLS was the mecca of it all. And then I met Red Alert. There was a bougie-ass club downtown called Area. And Red was the DJ there. And it was like every major celebrity, every supermodel, and a kid playing just hip-hop records. And I was like, something, like, I couldn't put my pulse, because I was really living on the road at that time. But that's how me and Red met. And I was like, and Red is one of the guys responsible for breaking Dollar Bill, y'all.
Shout out to TJ Red Alert.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, hip hop. How did it start? Was it blacks? Was it Puerto Ricans? Who was it?
I'm going to say it was a culture thing. Whoever was in the Bronx at that time, whoever was at that party, you know, that Cool Herc said, you know, when we were talking before, like, you know, you said Cool Herc was Jamaican, you know. Crazy Legs, I think, is Spanish, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's just a mixture of just whoever lived in the Bronx, in that one area of the Bronx. And that's...
How do you feel about those conversations? Or you ever like, well, we put out the first record, so it was really us.
When I say it, I feel my father and uncle never really got their due, but that was because that was their personality. They like to be under the radar. But now it's like, I have a son who works with me. And he's actually running a marathon in West Palm Beach actually this weekend. Wow. And he sends me a picture of my dad and Aretha Franklin. And I'm like, where the fuck did this, like, what's going on in this picture? Because I really thought there was beef. And there probably was, maybe. I don't know, between Millie Jackson and Aretha Franklin.
Right.
Because Millie and my dad and uncle feel they got robbed in the Grammys in 1974. So I'm up all night. You know, my dad passed, so my mom's 98. I have nobody to call to find out, like, what the fuck is this picture about? So I posted it this morning. I was like, if anybody knows, like,
if anyone can give me the backstory on this picture, like, wow.
So
were those stories that you heard in the household, like, yo, they beat us at the Grammys, man. We'll get them next year.
Nah. So in my household, you weren't allowed to talk in the house. If you were going to talk, you had to talk outside.
What part of the game is that? What?
Yeah, but what's the science?
Scared because they knew too many people that the house was bugged, this, that, or whatever. So, like, we would talk like, oh, how's school? Like, we were kids, but if any real conversation.
What were those outside conversations like?
I was a kid. So, I mean, the one conversation that he had with, I was older now. I'm living in LA and I come to New York for, this is how I started Loud. I come to New York for my cousin's wedding. And there was an agency called the Famous Artist Agency, which was at that time the premier booking agency for all hip hop acts. And it was a spin-off of a company called the Norby Walters Agency. So Jerry Aid was Norby's partner, and then when Norby, I guess, retired, Jerry bought, and they changed it. And he said, you should have a label. I'm like, I don't want a label. Like, I'm 25, 26 years old. I'm making six figures, and I have the marketing company, and I have the street team, and like I'm working in those days pretty much every hip hop record, and everybody that I know, I'm throwing over to Famous, and I'm seeing type of finder's fee. So I'm like, I'm a basketball junkie, right? So I would be in the office at 7, leave at 3, go to the park, California, if the weather's, play ball 3 to 5, eat dinner, shower, go back to the office, send out my daily reports, and call it a night. So I thought I was rich,
Right.
So I'm staying at Rich Isaacson's house, and it's during the summer, and Rich ended up, my childhood best friend, ended up being my partner in Loud. And my dad calls. Oh, Jerry wanted to introduce me to an attorney. I was like, I know he's my dad's attorney. I know him. He goes, just please do me a favor. So I go there, and I was like, his name was Paul Marshall. I was like, Paul, I'm cool. I don't want a label. I saw what my father went through. This, the walking outside, taking the phone off the hook at night. Like, there's just shit that, like, I didn't want to see. So, or deal with.
So you, in your opinion, did you feel like your dad had a hard experience having a label?
No, I don't think he had a hard experience. Because if you met my dad, everybody loved my dad. Like, I say I used to get a pass in every city, this, that, or whatever, but I got that from him. No matter where, it's like, I'm blessed to have a father, that I truly idolize. And not only my father, my uncle, and my grandfather. So.
Looking at the picture.
The picture
you posted.
Yeah. I could not look at that.
So he calls me, he goes, I need to talk to you. All right, so I'll meet you where do you want to meet tomorrow? He goes, no, you're coming now. And I'm like, Dad, it's 9 o'clock at night. Like, I'm watching the fucking draft, the NBA draft, right? He goes, get over here now. I'm like, you want me to take a train, right? He goes, yeah. And I think it was the first anxiety attack that I ever had. It was either I was getting arrested or he was getting arrested. Like, or, right? That was really what was going through my head.
Right.
And he's not even at the train station picking me up.
Damn.
I have to take a cab to the house. And I get there at 10 to the house. I remember like 10:45. Don't forget there was no digital. Everything was at that time, 10-2, 5-2,
Right.
And he goes, well, let's take a walk. And I'm convinced somebody's going to jail. And he goes, you're a fucking idiot. And I look at him. I'm like, what do I do now? He goes, I taught you better than this. And I'm like, what did I do? He goes, you don't want a record label? I was like, no. He goes, why? I said, Dad, I make around $200,000 a year. I'm 25 years old. I do my job. I go play basketball for 2 hours. And I go home, I eat, I shower, I go back, I send my daily reports, and I have a schedule, right? When Grandpa called me down to Florida at 18 years old, he says, you're gonna end up dead or in jail. I changed my life around. Like, what, do you want, he goes, well, let me explain why you're an idiot. He goes, with your Stephen Rifkind company, you're only as good as your last client. So I was like, okay, that makes some type of sense. With a record company, you own something. You're selling records in your sleep. And you have something to sell. And he explained about the multiple. And those days, it went like, with your marketing company, you'll get 3 times your earnings.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, this is now 1980. No, this is 1990, 91. And this was 91, summer of 91. And with the record company, you'll get 5 times. So every dollar is worth $5, you say. And you have something that you own. And if you have a bad year, hopefully your catalog
Carry you through.
carry it through. I said, Dad, you know what? You're right. He goes, all right, well, we have a meeting with Paul tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'm like, all right, great, no problem. I said, can you take me to the train station? He goes, no, you're sleeping here because I don't trust you that you'll show up. So I spent the night, drove into the city, and that's how Loud started.
So it's your father that's really responsible for Loud Records.
Wow.
No, I'm responsible because I was promoting every hip hop record out. Like in those days, it was Tone Loc, Young MC, Brand Nubian, Leaders of the New School, Boogie Down Productions. Well, Scott died, yeah, but it was KR. I had everybody. So he just explained the business of business to me.
How did you choose the name?
So when I got back to LA, I told my staff we're starting a label. And I had a meeting with a guy by the name of Irving Azo, who to this day is probably the most powerful man in music, right? And Irving had a label called Giant Records. And if you remember, Hank Shockley had a label called Soul Records, Sound of Urban Listeners. And I loved it. And he had this one group called Young Black Teenagers, which were a bunch of white kids.
Oh. How did that happen?
Chuck D, Hank Shockley, they put a bunch of names on the board and had groups come in and audition for those names. One of them up there was Leaders of the New School.
Wow. Wow.
So a guy by the name of Faye Duvernay, who was one of my promotion guys, said, if we're gonna be with Giant, we should be loud. And he came immediately, listens of Urban Dialect. And that's how we got the name.
That's crazy. Who came up with the logo?
To this day, I have no idea.
Nobody knows.
They look like the original Beats by Dre.
So, it's funny that you said that. So, in 1997, I get a phone call from the CEO of Walmart. I actually don't get the call. My cousin, who was my GM, Randy Roberts, gets the call. And he says, Walmart just called. They want to do a headphone line. And I said, are you fucking crazy? We're coming with the Wu album. We're going to like debut #1 around the world. Like, who has time for a fucking headphone line with Walmart? And I didn't even know what Walmart was. Right? You know? So it's one of the mistakes, you know, that we made. But we would literally.
Yeah. Perfect logo.
Yeah.
For headphones. Yeah. Perfect logo.
With instructions to play it loud.
Yeah.
All right. So you got this label now.
Yeah.
You've been promoting hip hop records. You're familiar with all the artists that's hot at that moment. Your first signing.
Twista.
The second signing.
Madcap.
Third.
Alcoholics.
Fourth.
Wu-Tang.
Fifth.
Mobb Deep. No. It might have been Akon. I'm not sure. I wish somebody from Loud was here.
You mean besides you?
Let's say Mobb Deep, then Akon.
Okay. Every artist that you named sounded nothing like what was out there. Was that like a conscious decision? Like what we
so
find?
I didn't really have an A&R staff at the time. We had the promotion company, the Stephen Rifkind company, the original SRC, was really financing Loud. I got some money from BMG, but it wasn't. The marketing company I think had a staff of like 12 people. BMG was giving us enough money to pay for me and you. Like, you know,
that's it.
I mean, literally no money. It was like $5,000 a month. So we found Twista through our street team guy in Chicago, a guy by the name of Jack Sterling or Starling. He was close with this DJ named Eric the Wiz. They called Fade because Fade was on the phone dealing with college radio all the time. Fade says, we got something here, and you know there were these DJs, these college DJs. I forget the station, but it was a big popular hip hop station in LA for college radio. It was a guy by the name of Rob One, let him rest in peace. I'm sure you guys know who HANZ is. Michael Green, right? And a guy by the name of Ghana. And they had this radio show called the Fly ID Show. And we played them the record, and they lost their mind and said, this kid sounds like Poor Righteous Teachers, this, that, so on, you know. So I flew him in. And we did a deal. So again, I never considered myself an A&R guy. I didn't really know producers. I knew some producers, but I didn't know the whole thing. And that was Twista. Madcap, I met through a guy by the name of Matthew McDaniels, who had these videos. He was the original. He was the Ralph McDaniels without a TV show on the West Coast. And he introduced me to a guy by the name of James Broadway.
Somebody for you to sign up there.
Yeah.
They know you here, man. They're trying to get it any way, man. By any means, this is all of them, man.
It's just following. Right. No, it's fine. The mic's okay.
So Broadway brings me this group called Madcap. And the leader of Madcap is this guy by the name of Coke Daniels. So Coke is a huge director now and a big movie guy. And they were an underground LA hip hop group, not a gangster, but more like on the. You can't compare them to De La Soul, but like if you had to be like any type of vibe, like that type of vibe. Then Fade went to the studio one day to see them. And Broadway introduced them to the Alcoholics, which was U Swift, J. Rowe, and Tash. And they came in, and from there, that's when everything just started like spinning. Like when I met RZA, I met him on my birthday, 1993, excuse me, March 2nd, 93. And I was with E Swift. And I've been trying to reach, he was then just Prince Rakim. He wasn't Riz at the time. I was trying to reach him for months. And he just showed up at the RCA office. He had no idea if I was in New York, not in New York, that's so on. And he just showed up. He said, the guys are downstairs. So when I heard the record, the guy by the name of Trevor Williams, who again was one of my promotion guys, found the record through our guy in Michigan, through college radio.
Michigan.
And his name was Jason State. So I was like, there's no hook on the record. I didn't know there were 9 guys in the group either, right? You know, but I was like, this record is different. And it's just like, and I really, me being from New York, I wanted something in New York. So when they came, the office was as big as where we all are, literally. And here's the door, and they're performing the record live, and E Swift is literally have to stand on the edge of the thing where the window is. So I'm in a guest office, and somebody comes in like in an overall, like, you know, like a building like uniform, and says, "That's that shit," and smacks his hand like that. And I never saw him again. So to this day, I don't know if Rizzo set me up and sent somebody in,
Right.
or if this guy was really a custodian at the BMG building on 6th Avenue at the time. So we start talking, and everybody says, well, why would you let them all have solo records? So I managed New Edition in the late 80s, and that's the reason how I ended up in LA. So Ralph wanted to leave the group, and that's how Johnny Gill got in the group, just in case Ralph left the group and we have a lead singer. And the truth of the matter is, even if you take the Jacksons or the Jackson 5 and Michael, yeah, Michael might have been a bigger solo artist, but at the end of the day, when it came time for that Jackson reunion tour, that was a 3 times bigger tour than the Michael Jackson tour. So the group to me is always bigger than
The solo.
the solo.
Right.
So I said, I don't give a fuck. It's survival of the fittest, right? Like, they can do what they have to do. Like, as long as we have first right. And we got it. You know, they agreed to the first right. I blew a temper tantrum. I had a temper in those days. They did, you know, they said, this is crazy. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, this has to be done. And that's why I allowed the solo members. And plus I had the marketing company, and I knew I was going to, you know, my prices were going up. I knew, you know, that there was also, I was going to be making some money too, knowing that I would be promoting these records.
Right.
So
you pretty much cornered the whole shit, because when I look at Wu-Tang and how everything unfolded, you had pretty much the whole group, but you had other labels promoting the artists, which in turn was promoting the group, because every album had all the group members on it.
Right, and the thing with me being on the road for 3 years, and I'll tell that story next. Retail really tried to help us more than the average label. Like we were, yeah, you had your sales team, but when I lived on the road for 3 years, if you were a record store, I treated you like you were BLS. Whatever you need, let me know, and I would call you guys whenever you know, there were no cell phones then, right? But you know, if I got myself situated, if it's for a hotel room and somebody's office, I'm calling everybody. I'm calling radio. I'm calling retail, right? Video jukebox is starting. You know, Yo is starting. So I'm calling wherever I could get something exposed.
Video jukebox.
You know, and you know, and the one thing that I learned, it's not what you know sometimes, it's who you know. And like we spoke earlier, like if you speak your truth, you're gonna be cool. We could agree to disagree and still shake hands and be, you know, and walk out the door and have dinner and laugh and everything else like that.
Right.
So
every time,
you know, but so that's what I did. So when I'm just saying ODB for the sake of saying ODB, when his album came, the record stores, and I'm not talking about the chains, I'm not talking about the Best Buys, the Music Lands, I'm talking about the Rock and Souls of the world, the Downtown Records, you know, but you know, across the country, Music and War in Birmingham, Alabama, like they would call. They said, "What do you want us to do with this old DB record?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do what you have to do with it." He goes, "But put it next to the Wu-Tang record." It was usually in those, like in the bins, everything's in alphabetical order.
Right.
And so we had retail working for us, stuff like that. He goes,
Right.
so when Dirty's album came, you would see a Wu album. When Jizz's album came, you had the Dirty album, you had the Wu album. I'm just, however, and that's how we did it.
Why were you looking for Prince Rakeem?
He was the leader of Wu-Tang. That was the number that they said I had to call.
Right. Okay, what you had first right. Why'd you pass on Method Man?
They didn't give us the money. Method Man's deal was $175,000. I would have taken them all. I wanted Jizza, I wanted Meth, I wanted everybody.
Who didn't give you the money?
RCA.
What's the
That sucks. Somebody should have got fired behind that.
Well, there's a story behind that.
Did somebody get fired?
Story?
Somebody got fired. I got arrested.
Jesus Christ.
How'd you get arrested?
So we're negotiating Ray's deal, and we're $30,000 apart. You're a woman now, by the way, and me and you are supposed to be on the same side, but I'm sitting across from you. So here's the conference room table. It's me. No, it's my attorney, me, RZA's brother, Divine, and their attorney. And BMG and RCA. Now, I'm supposed to be with you guys.
Right.
Negotiating. And with $30,000 apart on Ray's album, we already agreed to the Wu second album. I'm like, just give him the fucking money. And this woman gets up and says, "Stephen Rifkind, I'm tired of your shit. Go fuck yourself." Now, I never hit a woman in my life, and I never will. But there was a chair to my right. I think my cousin went to the bathroom, and we're in the 36th floor conference room, and I'm ready to throw it through the window that's facing Broadway. I'm like, shit, that goes through the window.
It hit somebody.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm really going to jail.
Right.
And I caught it, and I turned around and I threw it through this window. And everybody freaked out. They called the cops. And Method Man. So I just found out I was going to have my first child too. So I was a little on edge. And so this is, I want to say, September, October. Method Man's first album, Takal, came out sometime in November, right before Thanksgiving. And he scans 120,000 the first week. And there were no emails. Not everybody even had cell phones. I left a crazy voicemail to the CEO, the business affairs woman who got me arrested, and the chairman of Bertelsmann Worldwide, who's based in Germany. And I was like, all right, so for $30,000, this guy just did 120,000 the first week. Ray's on every fucking record on the album, on every hit too. And I'm not taking anything away from Meth. Like, this has nothing to do with me. I'm like, and I'm in Florida, calling from a fucking hotel. And I fly back to LA, like the first call Monday after Thanksgiving, that Monday, they come, they say, well, we'll give them what they want. I said, I think it's too late, which I knew it wasn't. Like, me and RZA, we're talking the whole time. And we had a plan, and it was just like, let's wait until like April.
Why? Why wait till April?
Scare them, because I want more money too now.
Right.
Like we shook hands, so I knew the three of us, like they were playing us records already. Like I knew it wasn't going anywhere, and it really, the truth of the matter was, it couldn't go anywhere because we had first right.
That's right.
So April came. Bertelsmann sent somebody to the States. To oversee, not to spy on the CEO, but to just oversee everything. And I ran into him by accident, and we became close friends. So a month later, I called him up. I said, listen, I think we can get this, the new Wu-Tang RAEKWON deal done. So me and Rich and RZA spoke. RZA told me what he wanted now. He told me what he wanted. I agreed without getting approval. I was like, consider it done. I didn't deal with anybody at the record company side of things. I didn't deal with the CEO. I dealt straight with the family. Because BMG was really a family office. Mm-hmm. And I dealt with this guy's name was Kevin Zinger. I dealt with Kevin. And the only thing he said, he goes, can we do it as a double album? I'm like, I'm sure. You know, I just have to ask RZA. And that's how Wu-Tang Forever came, and that's how Cuban Links came.
Doing it as a double album, did that increase how much money you guys got?
Yeah, be quicker. So, and we had to pay 4 times the amount for Ray's album. If we gave him the $30,000, it would have been 4 times less than what we ended up having to pay.
Wow.
Was there a sense of satisfaction that you felt because when the albums were rolled out, you had the Wu solo, ODB, you had METHODMAN and RAEKWON, but I think critically, the reception that you got from the public was that Ray's solo album was the one at that time.
Yeah. So the only thing I cared about, and again, this has nothing to do about meth. I just wanted to beat Def Jam. And not only did I want to beat Def Jam, I wanted to step on their neck and break their fucking neck. Right? And I've known Russell since I'm 16 years old.
Right.
Right? So, not in a violent way.
Competition.
Just
Not in a violent way.
Right?
Just one step on the neck and break it.
Right.
That was violent.
Step on them.
And,
Right.
And the only thing I cared about, if we did 121,000, that's all I gave a fuck about. Like, that we would beat them. Because they were the king of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So you flooded RZA's basement.
I didn't even know what RZA's basement was, but that flood fucked me up because I also had Deck. And Deck was also on every hit record on that first album. And I can't even imagine the jewels that were in that fucking basement on the Deck's album.
Sheesh.
Yeah, that episode was crazy.
So we scanned 130,000.
What I still don't. I don't know. It's such a contrast to today's method of signing artists. You sign. We still on topic, right? You sign Wu out of nowhere. They had 2. Pardon me, no disrespect, but like 2 failed acts that were representing that group between RZA, Prince Rakeem didn't do good, Jizza.
I was a promotion man, right? It was about survival of the fittest, right? I'm not, to this day, like, I'm gonna listen to what you guys say. I'm not gonna listen to I'm gonna go with my instincts, right? So when you see 9 guys or 8 guys, right, in a room this big, doing the record, and you just feel that fucking energy. That's what I was going with. I didn't care that Prince Rakeem had a record called "We Love You, Rakeem." Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I have a label. Like, I had a chance. Like, so it was like I said. I was like, I don't want a label. Like, I want to work from 7 to 3, go to the park, play ball, eat dinner, shower, get back to the office, send my daily reports, start the day.
Right.
Okay, so who was next? Who's after?
Now I want to rewind a little bit. What does a group of 9 artists album deal look like at that time?
It wasn't a lot of money. We had no money. Like, we all bet on the come. I mean, I think it was $60,000 or $70,000, but it was a singles deal for Protect Your Neck and Met the Man on the B side. which we paid $10,000. So yeah, so it was $60 for the album and then another $10 for the single. And if it sold 50,000, it automatically turned into an album. So it hit. I think it sold 50,000 within a week, 2 weeks. You're cooking something up, man. You got a smile on your face.
Okay, so Passed on Meth, you wanted to crush Def Jam. RAEKWON comes out, his album drops, critically acclaimed. That was in, you guys jerked that album, didn't you?
Don't do that.
Yeah,
I wasn't
you did.
there yet.
I
wasn't there yet. Don't do that.
Okay.
I was so pissed that day.
Okay, I can.
And he was like a brother.
Neither
to me.
one of us were there. She was there before me.
All right.
If she
Yeah,
wasn't
same.
there, definitely
But
wasn't.
that
All right.
in the streets,
Mhm.
Cuban Links was the one, right?
Yeah.
Like on a solo album.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I asked that question, because everybody was waiting on all the solo Wu-Tang records. You know, all the fans were waiting. So like to have that record be on Loud, I mean, I'm sure it was like, you know, you had a chip on your shoulder about like, yeah, this is the best one. This was the
so
best album.
It was 4.5, right? They gave us 4.5. They didn't give
Yeah.
us 5, right?
Right.
And it was just like, we got the cover though.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that cover.
So that's how he made it up. But was I pissed? I think I broke my hand. I think I put my hand right through the fucking wall and it hit a beam. I was.
Bro, what's happening with you? You throwing chairs, you punching walls.
I was
passionate, man.
Young.
I was young and temper and stupid. We didn't talk about when my grandfather called me down to Florida. You get either dead or in jail.
Yeah, you said you got your life together. I didn't.
Yeah.
He was one of them
I
guys
kind
in
of
the
wanted
mosh
to
pit.
rewind there, but I will get to it later. We'll get to it later. So 4.5 mics, still classic. Whose idea was it to make the tape purple?
Shit. It wasn't mine. It was somebody in the marketing department. I don't know if it was Brett, Jeff, Maddie, Free, Gerard, Cole. I literally, or my brother or Mojo, like, I was so blessed to have such a, like, everybody that worked at Loud, besides 3 people, never worked for a record company in their life. I mean, it was just pure passion. And they were the real fans. I mean, Mojo, thank God for him. He started, when we met Mojo, he was at RCA and he became our guy. And then I took him from RCA. So he had record business experience. My brother had record business experience. And Brett Wright, he came from The Source, went to Uptown, worked for Andre, and then he came to us and I made him head of marketing. Nobody else had any record business experience at all. Maddie, no record business, came from The Source. Free was a rapper and he grew up with Wu-Tang from Staten Island. Gerard was a stylist. Brett brought Jeff in. Combe, he was our social director but a marketing genius. And that's like Charlene. Oh, then when Dan Smalls came, he also worked at Uptown. But it was just, that label was truly built on heart, soul, and passion.
When you heard the idea, though, make the tape purple.
I didn't give a fuck. As long as we beat Def Jam.
As long as we kill Def Jam. As long as Def Jam dies. That's crazy. Okay, so.
Is that where the money came in? Like, I want to know, because I remember that room. I used to work at BMG. People don't know I was an intern there. It was my first internship. So I was at that 1133 building and then 1540. So I would go down and drop off mail to like the one room that was Loud Records.
Yes, no
one
window.
room. Nothing.
But that was the 1540? That was the Broadway. Yeah.
I was at 1113 1540, right? But then when did it become Loud Records and now
when we moved to 841 Broadway.
And what was the catalyst that put you guys like in that financial position with the distributor?
We were just coming. They hated us. Every time, everything was always a fight. Everything, but it was, they hated us. But the powers to be, who really signed the checks, looked over our shoulders. They knew like they were getting their bonuses, and their bonuses were huge because of what we were delivering.
Was it the Wu-Tang album? Was it the...
I think it was, Wu-Tang was the start. Like we went from like in overhead, we went, you know, we started off at like I think 5,000 a month, and then by the time the Wu-Tang project was done, I think we started getting like 50,000 a month in overhead, and then we also were getting another 200 a quarter for the marketing company to promote their records.
Your marketing company.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. There was an artist by the name of Freddie Jackson, and that RCA signed, and he was a ballad guy, and they wanted us to work the record at the street. So Stout was an A&R guy, a young guy working at the Broadway office, and all we would do is just laugh. And we're in the conference room. I'm me, you're Stout. He says, "How the fuck are you gonna get out of this one?" I'm like, "Watch." So it's my turn to say, I have to tell everything, what's going on, and you know, the whole staff is there. And I really don't like to talk in those days, right? So I said, I got to be honest with you guys. I gave the record to Flex, but I don't think he could play it.
Wow. For Freddie Jackson. You are my lady, Freddie Jackson?
Yeah, but that was on Capitol. This one was RCA. So Stout just starts cracking up. I stop. And that's what I mean by speaking your truth. Like, he was so funny. Like, he said, "How the fuck are you gonna get out of this one?" I'm like, "Watch."
So he was just taking budgets, just like, "Hey, give me that."
Nah, we would just go. Like, they would say, "We'll give you this, and you know." How do I explain it? It's like working for a major company. There's a positive side to it, right? You get benefits, you get, this, that, but you don't learn shit because you're in one position, and you don't, like, you're in that chair, and then you don't go to that chair, and you don't know what, all your focus is on is that.
Right.
And like, I don't know how they grow and expand. So I was lucky enough, granted, I grew up in the business, my whole family was in the business, but like, I saw my dad and uncle have to deal with trucking companies, unions, the record stores, radio stations, where, nobody realized, like, when you're an independent and this barbershop has, for whatever reason, it's not selling the records, but they're sitting on 30. Instead of returning them, we would send a truck to pick up the other 30 and send it to the store around the corner that needs the records. Right?
Right.
So it was there's the music side, the creative side, but then there's the business side of it too, where it's like, and we got fucked, at one time, not understanding because we didn't have the experience. But now, it's like, there's not one person at any label, like, I could tell where every penny is.
Every penny.
But we got fucked. So that's why, all of a sudden I started, granted, there's no more, you don't need to deal with the trucking companies or the unions. But
this is unique because usually it's the artist sitting in that chair saying, "We got fucked." Not a label owner saying, "We got fucked." Like,
I guarantee you, if Russell and Lior, like, if Lior was still at Def Jam, not him becoming the corporate guy, and I'm out taking, he would say he got fucked. Russell would say he got fucked. There's no questions asked. I'm getting married, 1997, and I'm dealing with my prenup. And Wu-Tang Forever comes out, I think June 3rd, something like that, right? And we scan, I think it was 684, say 700,000, right?
monster.
Right? And that's a double album. So that's 1.4. debuted #1 around the world in every country. And I know what numbers we did billing wise. So I tell the lawyers, hey, there's a check coming for XYZ amount of money. And it's between 2 million and 10 million, right? So I'm getting married July 3rd, and their fiscal year ends July 1st. So I knew we'd get the check June 30th. The CFO calls up, says, I think they made a mistake. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we got a check for $300,000.
What?
And I'm like, that's exactly what I said. It has to be a mistake.
0 missing.
Right? So I go, call and just find out where the rest of the money is. They said, nope. What happened was because the record's so big, we pressed and manufactured another 3 million records.
Wow.
So that money, if it costs $2 to press a record, that's $6 million. Shit. That's my fucking money that they're sitting 3 million records in a fucking warehouse, a double album. So I call back to see if I go, who signed off on this? They said, you did. I go, physically impossible because I don't sign, like I learned I don't sign and I don't talk in a house. Like,
That's what you grew up learning, right?
So I said, either we'll go in there right now to see whose signature that is, because it's definitely not my signature. And my CFO knows, and my partner knows, everybody knows there's no fucking way.
Right.
So they forged somebody's handwriting. But that was the game. They owned the manufacturing company, so they paid the manufacturing company. They got paid by the they get paid. And that money, all those records sitting on the floor,
you paid for.
That's supposed to be my money. And that's, that's the game that they played then. Now they play game, it's different now. But it's still the same method.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you guys sort this out without a chair going through another window?
I went on strike.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Were the artists upset?
Well, this wasn't the artist's money. This was my pure profits.
Mm.
I went on strike with them. The artist was still like
doing their thing.
We were like, I'm not, this was about me. This wasn't about the artist.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Imagine that. You sell 680,000 copies of a double CD. You're the label, so you know, okay, this amount of money is coming back. And they say, oh, now's our chance. Let's blow his whole bag on another 3 million CDs that may or may not move.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's so crazy.
That's sitting in a warehouse.
And leave him with the bill.
There wasn't no court, like you didn't take him to court?
No,
we
we didn't sue. We renegotiated, and it ended up costing them more. But I felt bad for everybody else. Like, at the end of the day, because, you get your Christmas bonus. But I told everybody that, hey, this was an incredible year. Like, you guys are going to be hit off, in July.
They didn't look at you funny?
They still got hit off when I got the money. I mean, I didn't get it June 30th. I got it before January 1.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up just being a bigger Christmas bonus.
How much did they end up paying?
We taxed them.
You don't want to say
Double.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And the rest of those records moved, right?
I would say 3/4.
3/4.
How was that album received? Because I remember the rollout. I remember the Billboard Times Square big poster, Wu-Tang. I remember the rumor. Well, maybe this was the...
We were the first one, like, I'm not a big coin guy, but we were the first one to come with a coin.
Right.
The Wu-Tang coin that my cousin Randy came with. And that was the pre-sale. You ordered a coin, it was a pre-sale. It was the first pre-sale, and it was, I think, an enhanced CD too. Like there was some shit that Power came up with, from Wu-Tang. I mean, there was some real creative. Like I said, we didn't have anybody with record business experience. Like we just came with things like
Out of the box.
added ideas, and we would just make it happen.
Where you want to go from here?
I want to hear about the next. I want to hear who brought Mobb up. I want to hear how
Mobb.
Pun happened. I want to hear how Dead Prez ended up on a company ran by a white guy, and they up there talking all this black power.
Mobb Deep.
I want
So-
all those.
Yeah,
So with
promote the
Mobb
record.
Deep,
Right.
to me, that's the most important album on my album.
Because
Wu was the first home run
Mm-hmm.
or grand slam or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
So was that luck, or
Mm.
so you needed a follow up?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always, and I think everybody is telling the truth. I think how Mobb came, Scott Free had a huge say in it. Stretch Armstrong had a huge say in it. Then there was a girl by the name of Tammy who worked at distribution. Told me about that. And Scott started working, Free started working with me. Stretch was a consultant. He started working, and Tammy told me. So I don't know who exactly set up the meeting, but P was sick, and Havoc and the crew came. And it was love at first sight. And just, not because of the music or anything else like that. They went to the bathroom to light a cigarette, and the fire alarm went off. And you remember, right? So it was the Broadway office. So, right? And again, I was in an office with no windows. And I'm like,
I think that's well deserved.
So it was like, we got in trouble again. We got, a hand smack. Prodigy came up 2 days later, and we did the deal. And then Free introduced me to Matty C, who wrote about Mobb Deep and and did Biggie, just Matty's Matty, and just, and we were experimenting, with records. Like, before Shook Ones Part 2, there was Shook Ones Part 1.
I was gonna say, weren't they signed to 4th and Broadway?
There was but they had hit it from the back on that record.
The
Like,
Juvenile Hell.
Yeah.
No, that was the name of the song.
Juvenile Hell.
Yeah.
And there was another artist, right, named Havoc and Prodigy. Was there another artist named Havoc and Prodigy?
I think there was an
Prodigy
artist by
Havoc?
name Prodigy. I don't know if there was another artist.
Like, and I heard some story. I think that's why they had to change their name or something like that.
No, before they were poetical. What was the name?
Prophets.
Poetical Prophets.
I think there was another artist from another
You could be right. I heard something
Havoc
like that,
and
but
Prodigy.
but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the story.
So they were
I
Mobb
think-
Deep
I
when they
think you're
came
right,
to you.
too.
Yeah.
No, they were always Mobb Deep.
No, I'm saying as an artist signed.
Yeah.
What was the appeal for Mobb Deep? Because you just had about a room full of guys from Staten, some of them 6 foot and all that, and then these guys walking through the office.
They remind me of just kids that got in trouble. Like they lit a cigarette, the fire alarm went. It was like, and that was it. But again, it wasn't about me listening to music. It was what I listened to is what everybody else says.
Mm-hmm.
So Stretch was saying, you got to sign these guys. Free was saying, like, if you don't believe in your staff, what do you really have a staff for?
Right.
That was a tough bar.
You like that
What
one?
you just said.
So, like, and as we were talking before, like we mentioned Q-Tip, right?
Right.
So Tip mixed the album. And then he mixed the album, and then Half came with Shook Ones Part 2. the rest is history.
Out of here.
It doesn't make any sense. He got a group that didn't do great the first time they came out. By today's standards, you would avoid them at all costs. You'd never think about signing somebody who didn't put numbers up, like giving a group a second chance. RZA, Genius, Mobb Deep, these were all like.
And that, you know, until you just said it, I never even thought of it that way. I have the saying, the streets don't lie. Now, I grew up in Long Island. I'm a white Jewish guy. You know, it's not like I didn't know how to read or write till I was 14 years old. I was dyslexic. So I was robbing and stealing, not because I needed money, just I wanted attention.
Oh, here's where we get to the straight nonchalant part. Okay, got you.
All right.
So that's really what that was about. And that's why my grandfather called me down. So
What were you robbing? What were you stealing?
a lot. I was good.
Never got caught.
What?
Never got caught.
No.
He said I was good.
Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar. Okay.
So what were you stealing?
So-
a lot.
Do you miss
What
it?
what was the turning point?
My grandfather was a tough guy. And he grew up with some, you know, if there was a Mount Rushmore of the mob, 4 of them would be in that Mount Rushmore. And he grew up in the Lower East Side, and that's where the Jews and the Italians were. And before they were guns and just fists, my grandfather and I guess his brother were the toughest guys in the project. And that's how, but they put him in the nightclub business. And he heard what I was doing. And he says, you're gonna end up dead or in jail. Get your shit together. He was going to the music business. And I said, my father and my uncle, like, my uncle's name was Roy. I said, my dad and Uncle Roy, they'll kill me in 2 fucking seconds. Like, they want nothing to do with me. He goes, I'll deal with it. So that's how I ended up going on the road.
You named all these great artists that you worked with. What was your favorite album from your label?
From the label?
And not because it's Squash Def Jam.
I'm going to say, can I give you 2?
Give me 2. Make it 3.
All right, so it's going to be Cuban Links, Pun, and Infamous.
Who's the third?
Infamous.
Infamous.
And Infamous.
Was it
Okay.
But but Wu 36 Chambers
Put y'all on
is
the
like,
map.
it's like my first child,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that, you know, you could love all your kids equally, but it's, your first is your first.
But you perfected
Yeah.
moving along with those other projects. When Mobb Deep got wrapped up in this whole East Coast West Coast beef, what was the vibe in the office? Were you like, yes, wartime, let's go?
What, Wartime Against the West?
Yeah.
My office was in I also had an office on Melrose Avenue, 8360 Melrose.
Right.
We were the only ones who were allowed to go back and forth.
Because you had artists from the West Coast. You had the alcohol.
When you say allowed to go back and forth,
Like, I didn't have to check in. I didn't check in with anybody. Like, my office, if you wanted me, you knew where to get me.
Right.
But you weren't coming.
right.
we were 8360 Melrose Avenue.
Why weren't they coming, Steve?
I don't know.
Just tell you about his grandfather.
His grandfather wasn't there. I want to hear why they weren't showing up to this office.
I mean, when you're catching wind of all this shit, like, and you hear about your artists getting involved, what's happening in
In
the
my
boardroom?
mind?
Yeah. Is this a plan? Is this like, yo, you guys need to shoot back, or
No,
what's happening?
I grew up a certain way, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't understand. Like, Pac was my roommate.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like,
Wait. What?
if you look at his first album,
Tupacalypse Now.
yeah, we did his whole first album, the whole marketing of this album. I'm saying we worked every record there was.
Right.
Interscope was the first label to ever give me a real retainer. Like
Wow.
a real retainer.
Like how much?
In those days,
Yeah.
when did that album come out? 1992, 1991, right?
Mhm.
They were paying me $20,000 a month.
Wow.
Nice. That was the 200 grand.
Yeah.
Put in your paperwork, go play basketball. And, wow. Okay. So,
So-
how did you? How did you?
So we would be on the road
yeah.
on the weekends. Either Fade would go or I would go. And then when we come home, he really lived in the Bay, but he would stay with me because we still had shit to do. He didn't have a place. I'm like, just crash at my place.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
fire.
And that's
So when this was going on, did you pick up the phone like, hey,
so
hey, Tupac?
nah, so I always
What are you
mind
doing?
listen, loose lips sink ships.
Mhm.
So I just always kept my mouth shut. So I used to have long hair. Like I could still really grow my hair. So there was a guy by the name of Comb.
Come on, man.
No, during COVID, when I grew my hair out.
Right, right.
Right? So Comb was from Paris. And he was our social director, but he knew every model, like just every beautiful woman in New York City. He had in his phone book. So I shaved my head. I was like, I'm gonna get myself a girl, I'm gonna get myself a supermodel, this, that, whatever, right?
Right.
So, do you remember the artist Tony Rich?
Tony Rich.
He was on The Face.
Mhm.
He was performing at the House of Blues, and I'm going to see him, and I get smacked in the head. But I don't know if it's a smack. Shit stings, right?
Mm.
So, and I look and it's Pop.
Right.
And he says, "You ain't gonna say hello to an ant." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know where I stand with you." He goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "All this shit, all this bullshit that's going on." He goes, "Come on, man, that's nothing. You tell those two little guys I'm doing it to keep myself relevant." Oh, wow. I love those guys. He goes, "Do you ever meet Suge?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Come on, let's go meet Suge." And Suge was nowhere to be found. But but at the end of the day, that's like
It's the game.
we,
Wasn't.
Did you tell that to Mobb Deep? Because they didn't seem to take it like he was just saying it to get
No, I
relevant.
told them, like, when he got shot and we dropped, their favorite record that they would do was Drop a
Drop a
Gem,
Gem on him.
right?
Right.
Which is my favorite record, right?
Right.
That was crazy.
And then when he got, I don't think when he got shot or when he passed, when we pulled the record, they agreed. I said, "Listen, I think the right thing to do is this." And Prodigy said, "We agree 100%." And they loved it.
It's crazy.
Robberies in Manhattan. You know what happened. 60 G's worth of gun clapping. Who
Clapping.
shot you? You probably screamed louder than the
The
opera.
opera. Wow. Okay.
Riker salad flashbacks to the house you got scuffed it in.
You were thinking getting your head beats enough, but then now you want to call on my team. Must have been drunk when you wrote that shit. Too bad you had to do it to your own self.
Man,
My
we see the
rebellion,
hoodie,
retaliate.
you know.
Rest in peace,
Let
Prodigy.
me
That
get
was
to
one
this.
of my favorite verses.
All right. In between this time, because there's so many different timelines that stem off from just these 3 albums. When Bad Boy was taking off, what was the energy around that time?
Between us and Bad Boy,
Yes.
we were in 2 different lanes. I wanted them, they were at BMG too.
Right.
I wanted them, I became Puff's biggest cheerleader. I helped him however, like the second I saw that Big Mac
Yeah.
thing,
Craig Mack.
yeah,
Biggest moment.
I called him, and that's how. And I was like, "This is the most brilliant thing I've ever seen in my life." Congrats. And we became friends. And then, when he was becoming a free agent, the guy who ran the family office for Bertelsmann, I said, "You guys are going to lose this guy in 2 seconds. Kevin, you should meet with him ASAP." He goes, "Well, have him come to dinner." We were having a holiday dinner. I was leaving to go. I made the introduction. We had dinner, and I left. And they worked out the deal.
Bad boy.
No, I mean the deal. He was already there. He was re-upping.
Okay. All right, but when these records are coming out, what are you thinking?
It didn't bother me at all.
Two different kinds of music.
It's like I can't. If I'm going to look over my shoulder to see what Puff is doing, to see what Sugar's doing, to see what Russell and Leo are doing, Ruckus came into the picture, right? We were consulting Ruckus at right? You're running a race. You look over your shoulder, you're going to trip.
Yep.
I don't have time to trip.
But you wanted to destroy Def Jam.
That was my insecurity. Like that
You know
was
what I'm
and
saying?
my immaturity. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like,
And they were in front of you at that time.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't looking back. They were like the goal, the ambition to hit.
listen, Russell was a celebrity, right? Puff was a celebrity. I'm not trying to be a celebrity.
You were not.
The day Mobb Deep's album came out, do you know what we did that day? I shut the office and we went to the park and we played ball. April 25th, 1995.
Everybody played ball.
Mobb, everybody, like half of Queensbridge. They brought half of Queensbridge, and I shut the office. I said, let's go.
That's dope.
Could Prodigy play?
Prodigy wasn't there. Prodigy. Havoc could play. Havoc could dribble. I mean, Havoc, he could get to the rack.
Dead Prez?
Dead Prez I got.
Before we get there, I want to take a break.
Okay.
5-minute break. 11 years ago.
She left off with the Tony Stark's comment.
Yeah.
The
The heart attack really, that put me through a loop.
When did that happen?
It happened, I was at my ex-wife's house, Christmas Eve. It was one of those beautiful nights in Florida. And my oldest son ended up playing college basketball at a big level. And he was a senior in high school. He was around 6, not that tall, 6'1", 6'2". Dunks on me. And he's hanging from the rim and his crotch is in my face. So I punch him in the face. But not out of anger. It was like, I go, that's the most disrespectful thing his son could do to his father. And we just start laughing. And his mom, we weren't together anymore, but his mom is from Trinidad, but literally born and raised. Still the accent.
Oh God.
Right. So she starts screaming at me, and when she gets mad, you don't understand the word she said. And next thing you know, after we're done laughing, I can't breathe. But I'm not having pain in the chest, I'm having pain in the back. I said, something's not right. And I'm sweating more than I really should be sweating, and I just can't catch my breath. And then the pain started coming down my arm. I called 911, I took a Xanax, took a shower, and by the time I got out of the shower, I was like, I knew I was dying. And if they came 2 minutes later, I would have been dead.
Wow.
I flatlined in the ambulance. They saved me there, and then during the surgery, they saved me twice.
God said it wasn't your time. That's all that was. It wasn't your time.
Thank God. Thank God. What do you remember from that?
The last thing I remember, the only thing I truly remember are two things. Them cutting my wife beater and say, you are having a heart attack. And then the doctor saying, is your father Julie? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm his doctor. And I was at peace. And then they incubated me. And when I woke up, I ripped it out. And I must have threw up or whatever. And I screwed up my larynx.
Was that like an automatic reaction, or you just?
Having a pipe
Down
in your throat.
I hear that a
what
lot
the
from
fuck?
people who have that. When they rip their larynx. Ripping it out all the time.
So, all right. When I say, what do you remember?
I didn't see a white light. I didn't see
Nothing. Math was about to get into the conspiracy.
No, but you understand something. It fucked me up so bad. was one time I mean, it wasn't like I flatlined and there was one time I was out for like 45 seconds to a minute.
Mm.
I went to a therapist. I was like, yo, am I going to help because I didn't see the white light? They said,
What does it mean?
like, what, like, and the therapist said, I mean, it's just really, it wasn't your time at all.
Did you see anything?
Nah.
What did they say caused it?
I didn't go to a doctor. So the widowmaker, the big artery,
Mm-hmm.
I had 100% blockage.
Wow. Caused by what?
Caused by diet, stress, depression, just a whole bunch of shit that I was going through 11 years. You know, but everything before that. Like, if I went to get a daily checkup, they would have said your cholesterol's high, your blood pressure's high, here's some blood pressure medicine. If you believe in it or not, like, then I would have known, I would never have had the heart attack. But I never went to the doctor.
That's something. What did you have to be? It's hard to imagine somebody who's rich and successful as depressed. But you said depression was one of the things that caused your heart
Yeah,
attack.
I mean, I was going through a nasty divorce. My kids weren't living with me, even though I lived around the corner from my ex. Actually, I was living in her guest house, but I gave my house to my parents, and but a lot.
All right, we always hear about artists and
Mental illness.
mental illness, drug abuse, you know, trying to keep certain schedules, touring, you know, people taking alternatives to kind of keep that schedule up. Method Man talked about, you know, his addiction. He talked about his depression, Old Dirty Bastard, you know, all the stories we heard around that. How stressful is the music industry?
The music industry isn't stressful as much as you want to make it. If you know how to control your body, right? If you look at the glass half full instead of half empty, it's not stressful. If you look at it half empty instead of half full, it's stressful. And it's really your upbringing. Like, I'm just going to be 100%, you know, like I said, I can only speak my truth, right? So a lot of my shit comes from insecurity, right? I didn't know how to read or write until I was 14. So, and I wasn't a big kid. I wasn't scared to fight, but shit, I was bullied, you know, and then like, and where I grew up, you know, you had the north side and the south side. The south side, the Jews and the Italians lived, and the north side was the Irish, right? And I'm Jewish. We would get into fights every single fucking day because we were Jewish. So, and get our asses kicked every single fucking day. But depression comes in all different ways. Like what's going on in the music business now depresses me.
What part? What?
With everything. It's like, why do you want to? I'm a dog lover. I got 3 pits.
Right.
Saying, why are you going to kick a dog when they're down? Right? If you're down and I, you know, whatever, and I want to keep you down, how does that really help me? If I empower you or anybody in this room, and God forbid I need a favor. Hey, MECC, you know what? Can you help me with this? And I've helped you. If you're a stand-up guy,
it's not even a question.
You're going to do it.
Can you give a specific story of like someone that was kicked when they was down?
Now, it's like, I got sick in 2013. It's going to be 11 years next week.
Right.
Whenever the 24th is. I haven't really put out records since then. Are people scared? Like, I'm not trying to take anybody's job. I'm here to empower people.
So you feel like people is trying to kick you while you're down, is what you're saying? Or
well, it's like what's the reason? Was I'm older now? Like, what's the real reason why I'm not going to get a deal? Look at the artists I signed. Not only on Loud, right? We still haven't even talked about SRC, right? So right, that had Akon, that had David Banner,
Right.
that had Melanie Fiona, who won 2 fucking Grammys. It had a girl by the name of Chantel and Ray J. So
not a losing track record at
Yeah.
all.
Not
At
at
all.
all.
no, I mean, from
all.
2013, when did streaming start? 2014, 2013.
13, right? 13,
Right.
I think.
Akon's numbers from 2013 to today, 15 billion streams, 30 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Without putting out a fucking record, he has a record out now, but nothing since then.
Mm-hmm.
Who does those type of numbers?
Mhm.
What's Drake's monthly numbers? 70? And he puts out a record every fucking 2 months? Not that many people sold more records than I've sold.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think you're just considered a threat? Like,
Yeah, so, but what's the threat? If you bring me in
mhm.
and I have success and you work for Gourmet Records, I'm just, right? I'm going to see Gourmet Dough,
Mhm.
right? You're going to get rich.
Right.
You're going to get bonused up the ass. You're going to get a promotion. You're going to get everything. So what's the fucking threat? Like,
You know, I think it's the title, you know, of being the top dog. You know what I mean?
what's the top? You're my guy. Like, you're the top dog now in that fucking building.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So who are these people?
They're executives. That's why I go after all the executives. It's like, I'm not gonna say it's Tom, Dick, or Harry, but like they sit behind the desk. And I said, what do they really know about the record business besides just doing their fucking job? Like, and
Knowing the one chair.
yeah,
Mm.
I'm not. Like I said, I'm dyslexic, man. I don't even know how to fill out an expense report. You think I really want to work for a fucking record company? I never have.
What do you want to have happen? Like if you
Now,
if you can snap your fingers and
I just want to put out some records again. It's the only thing I know how to do.
well, what's stopping you?
I cash, this, that, riches. Like I haven't worked since 2013. But yeah, I worked with Ye, I worked with Busta, I worked with X, but at the end of the day, that wasn't really my shit.
Right.
Mm.
You working with Kanye currently, aren't you?
No. I mean, I love him, like, no matter what people say about him, I'm going on record. The guy has a heart of gold.
Mhm.
He really does. And what he says, when he said that shit about the Jews, I'm in Boca Raton, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at my cousin's house. I'm getting every call
Imagine.
from the most powerful Jews in the world. I don't even know. Like, people say that you're the only one who he's going to listen to. I said, I haven't listened to him. The last time I spoke to him, he told me to go fuck myself.
Biggest heart in the world, though.
Right? No,
Heart of gold.
but listen, he had every right to say it to me because I was testing him on something.
What was that?
I don't want to get into it,
Mhm.
but I was testing him on something, and I was trying to get the answer out of him, and I went about it the wrong way.
Okay.
So
You were in the wrong.
what?
You were in the wrong on that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I did it on purpose.
Okay.
Mhm.
It was intentional.
Yeah.
Did you speak to him after?
So I'm gonna tell you what happened. So I just started dating this girl. I just won my Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm a dog. Right when I had my heart attack, I got into dogs so I could walk with them. This, that, whatever.
2013.
Yeah. But now 2022, one of my dogs passes at a young age, the night before the awards. So I was like, fuck it, and this girl I started dating, I was like, you want to go to a place called, she's from Dallas, like the place called Boca Raton, Florida, like there's nothing there but all white people, which is,
She must have been black.
yeah.
Mhm.
And she said, yeah, why not? And when Nori takes care of me, he has somebody that gets me cars. So I land, I get the car, and we go up to Boca, and I'm staying at my cousin's house. I got to drop the car off now. Now we're flying back to Dallas. This is a great story. She has to go to the bathroom. Since she's going to bed, I said, I might as well go to the bathroom. It's early. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. no way in the world do I think Nori's shooting a podcast, right? You know, it's String Champs.
Right.
And I go to one of the guys, I'm like, why is security so fucking tight here? Ye's here. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And so if he's over there, I'm trying to go over here, but I see her walking. She sees a white guy with a bald head that she thinks is me, right? So she's walking that way, and I can't scream. And I'm trying to just grab her so we can get the fuck out.
Right.
And the second I go past, we make eye contact. And he goes, my favorite Jewish person. Like literally a year ago, he told me to go
All right.
fuck myself, right? And then Nori was like, he just said, you know, I'm like, and we hugged. And it was a gentleman. I'm like, yeah, you have the world in the palm of your hand. Like, if you just play nice with everybody, not only will you have the world, you'll have Mars. And I was like, I love you. Like, and he goes, will you fly home with me? I was like, nah, I'm going to Dallas. But that you know, and then whenever he needs something, if he pays me or doesn't pay me, I'm doing it. Like, he just like has a super heart. It was like, when I worked with him, I never worked for anybody in my life. In 2018, it was 5 years after the heart attack. And he goes, will you come in and run good music for me? So like, I've never worked for anybody, this, that, whatever. So, and you know, and we got into a vibe, and it was only going to be a year. Because I could really just work for me. So I did it for the year, and we shook hands. Like, he's my brother, you know, whatever. And a week later, he gives me a 3-year severance, which he didn't have to do. I didn't ask for it, nothing. Like, he just did it, like, with a note, thank you.
Damn.
That's solid.
That's solid.
And this is after the Semitic comment.
No, this was before.
Before. Okay.
But even with the Semitic, like, I know him. Like, you got to know the beast, right? So whatever was going through his head, he heard what he wanted to hear, but not understanding. It's like he was going after all the Jews in the music industry, right? So, but at the end of the day, everybody that he was signed to wasn't Jewish.
Okay.
So I never took it personally. Like I said, like, he told me he could go fuck myself. Like, like when I had a boss, right? When I worked for him, he would yell at me and I would laugh. He goes, "What's so funny? Until you sell more records than I've sold, then like you can yell at me all year." It's like, come on, man.
That's some cold shit.
That's crazy.
That's some cold shit.
Rewinding back. When the music industry starts to transition into streaming, was there a plan to counteract this? Was it something that just happened? And how did the labels merge with the streaming companies?
So so in 2012, when Universal was changing management, and they were breaking Universal East Coast, West Coast, and the new management on the East Coast wanted to fire my partner and right hand. I was like, well, if you fire him, then you might as well let me out too, because that means you're trying to clip me. And this is what I mean earlier. I was like, I figured out, I'll just get a deal someplace else, right? Who's gonna, like, I'm walking in with Akon, this one, that, like, and
your partner at the time
was Rich Isaacson, and at SOC was also Gabi Acevedo.
Yeah, Gabi,
So,
I remember Gabi.
yeah. So there was no streaming yet. So I took a year off. A really close friend of mine, who's now chairman of Paramount, a guy by the name of Brian Robbins, started a company called Awesomeness TV, which was a YouTube channel. And it was an MCN, everything else like that. And he got with Russell, and they started All Deaf Digital. Russell and Brian, now I know Brian's literally the godfather to my kids. I'm the godfather to 2 of his 3 kids. And they called me, they said, why don't you partner with us on this All Deaf Digital? This is before the heart attack, right before the heart attack. Mm. And I signed a girl by the name of Nikki Heaton. And she had a record called Bad Intentions with the Migos. She was this white girl that her voice was incredible, but sang with guitar, you know, at YouTube, and she had crazy followers, her and her manager. Right? And my assistant walks in one day and says, we have 40 million streams on Spotify. I'm like, what the fuck is Spotify and what the fuck is streaming? And we stayed in the office till midnight. This is summer of 2013. And he explained what it was. So I made the people at Spotify my best friend. But I still didn't really understand. Apple didn't even start their streaming service yet. Right. And she ended up streaming around 1 billion streams and like 500-600 million views on YouTube.
Damn.
And around 300,000 real albums. So that was the last record I ever put out. And we would go to find artists through YouTube and develop content and make content. Like we met, like we said, with like we would have done a deal in 2 seconds. Mm. So I wasn't in those meetings, but I know information. Like I know what Spotify pays Universal every year, which is shit. I mean, they don't have to sell 1 fucking record and they're making a profit. Right. I know what they're paying Sony. Like I know what they're paying Warner. So it's I know how they play with the money and hide the money.
All right. Are you privy to break this down to us today? Because there's been so many artists that sat across from us and they're like, how do they equate this? How do they equate this? How is the number fair? No one seems to know how this became the rate for a stream or why it's streamed.
All right, they make it up as they go. Right? How many are in the room right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A big man, 9, right? Let's put a huge pizza right there. I'm the pizza maker. You know what? You're gonna get 2 slices. You're gonna get 2 slices. You're a little smaller. You're gonna get a slice. You're gonna get a half a slice. You're gonna get a slice. Big man's gonna get 3 slices. You're gonna get a half a slice. I'm gonna get a slice. They just make it up as they go. There's no science.
There's none.
There's none.
Guru had it.
All right.
Had a science. Remember?
But there's really no science. Because they send you a pot of money.
Do you think the artists are underpaid using the streaming formula?
I think some are.
Yeah.
And I think some are overpaid.
It's not going to change until there's legislation. Like, nobody's suing.
Well, there was an attempt for that. There's a artist wage.
Yeah.
Artist wage bill where they wanted to guarantee at least a penny for each stream.
Yep. I think that's still in play too.
So what you're saying is some artists, their streaming rate is higher than others.
They just give it.
They just give it.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Does it seem like a rigged system? Like, can an artist actually, can you be a brand new artist and put out something independently and actually?
Yeah, you can. But the thing is, you have to be consistent and you have to have patience. So very rarely do records break off the first record. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're an artist today, a brand new artist, you should be putting out a record every 6 weeks. You should be building up your YouTube channel. Right? I was impressed how everybody mentioned their YouTube channel, this, that, right? Build up your YouTube channel. and say 2 years from now, you have 20 records out. Right, there's 52 weeks in a year, 6 into 52 is what? 6, like say it's like 9 singles a year, say, right? 54. So between 8 and 9. So 3 years from now, 8 times 3 is 24. You have 24 singles, and all of a sudden, one single finally goes. Your whole catalog now goes up. But don't sit and wait. Keep with that formula.
No, keep going.
We love you,
Somebody
man.
need to hear this. Somebody needs to hear this.
we met before. One of your A&Rs wanted to get me over there, SRC. I won our J Hatch's Faces in the Crowd showcase. And
Rest in
part of
peace,
the
J.
prize,
Hatch.
yeah, rest in peace, J Hatch. Part of the prize was I get a meeting with SRC A&R.
The guy, so what the fuck was his name?
I've been trying to remember too.
He was my barber too.
Chalet.
No.
Chalet is his
Mom?
baby mom's now.
Oh, I don't know. So
Yeah, Nomad and
no, we had Nomad, nobody, but no,
Nobody.
but Facing the
No,
Crowd
somebody
was
else.
he also was a barber. But
He wanted to sign me to a production. He introduced me to you and got me hyped. And he was like, yo, but I want you to sign my production company. I was like, I send the beats. Beats was terrible.
so
Shout out to him though. Shout out to him.
but just be consistent and just keep on coming with it, right? Drake had the formula, right?
Mhm.
He didn't, he would just keep on putting out records. Like the label had to play catch up.
Okay, biggest difference, music industry then, music industry now. That's one option I want you to answer. And just on your expertise, artists that you've seen whose careers have kind of faded and you feel like it was a mistake or something that could have been prevented, how would you have changed them?
What do you mean faded?
Like just an artist that you were sitting on the sidelines or you saw like, oh, this person, you took an interest to him, but you saw something go wrong.
back then or now?
Pick any time. Like,
My biggest disappointment for me personally was Dead Prez.
Mm.
I thought they were going to be the next Public Enemy. Right? And we're closer today now than we were in the 90s. And I took offense, not to what they said about me, but they didn't trust me. And I was confused why they signed with me if there wasn't going to be trust. Right? So their success is my success. My success with them is their success.
right.
Right? And if you didn't trust me, have a conversation with RZA. Have a conversation with Havoc. Have a conversation with Joe. Have a conversation with Exhibit. Like, you said it yourself. Right? RZA, Jizza, and Mobb Deep. They all got a second chance on life.
Right.
Right? You don't see me in the studio. I'm not telling you, like, you guys did a record called, it was about killing cops. And the beat was ridiculous. And we just went over to Sony. Sony was having a fucking heart attack. Like, we can't put out this record. And I'm yelling at my staff, like, leak the fucking record. Like, was just, and it broke. And we never had a beef. Like, yeah, I know
Right.
they said shit about me or whatever, but that didn't bother me. Like, I was just confused.
I'm kind of confused on your confusion because their biggest record is basically them saying, we don't trust none of y'all.
Then, all right, so if you don't trust us, then why are you with me?
Right.
Why son?
That's they performed. I'm sitting in that first office when you asked earlier, the 841 Broadway office. Lord Jamal brought him in through a guy by the name of, I got a phone call from a guy by the name of Eric Llewellyn who worked at Rock and Soul Records. Right? a retail store. Called me, he goes, Lord Jamal has this group that's dope as hell. Will you take a meeting? I'm like, yeah, no problem. And they weren't begging for a deal, but they definitely wanted a deal.
Right.
Is it true?
Right.
Is it true that you offered Pun money to lose weight? He
Yeah, I
said
think-
in an interview you offered him like
Like
$1,000
a pound.
Yeah.
$1,000 a pound. Yeah. We sent him to Duke University to a fat farm.
And he lost 100.
He lost 50.
Mm-hmm.
And then he called me. He says, I want the bet to be off. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, no, I'm proud of you. He goes, no, I'm coming home. I'm like, why are you coming home for? He goes, I promised my daughter that I'd take her to her first day of school. So, Pun was special, man. Him and Joe are the only two artists that ever gave me a gift.
Really?
Wow.
Only two.
Wow.
I mean, RZA and Divine gave me a wedding gift, but a thank you gift.
Right. Straight up present.
Yeah.
Thank
So when Pun started, when Still Not a Player was blowing up,
Yeah.
and he's getting all this crazy show money with this, that, he came in with the most beautiful Cuban link bracelet. I was like, wow, the road must be good for you. Like,
Right.
He goes, man, if we go platinum, I'm getting you one. I'm like, Pun, we're shipping platinum. Like, this, that,
It's guaranteed already.
yeah, like, you don't have to give me, he goes, 2 million. I said, Pun, we'll be 2 million in 2 weeks. Like, the album, he goes, all right, 3 million. I'm like, all right. Just, so we hit our numbers. A year later, he calls me. And usually Joe calls me, right? Because he was signed to Joe. He goes, I want to come up and play you some music. So I had his product manager was a guy by the name of Gerard Hunt. So Gerard comes in, he goes, Pun is going to come. I go, are you sure? I said, does Joe know? So I called Joe. I said, hey, Pun wants to come and play new music. I said, are you cool with that? He goes, yeah. So comes in 3 o'clock, whatever time, whatever the meeting was. And our relationship, we would just talk shit to each other, right? And I haven't seen him now in 6 months. And he gained the 50 back plus another 50, right? And I'm like, man, I got an issue with you. I said, have I ever lied to you? He goes, no. And I said, you promised me your bracelet when we hit 3 million. I said, we were at 3 million 4 or 5 months ago. And he goes in his pockets, and he's wearing a hoodie with the Air Jordan logo, but with the Pun, right?
Right.
And he takes out this box wrapped to the nines, and he throws it at me. He goes, here you go, motherfucker. And it's the most beautiful Cuban link bracelet I've ever seen with my name on it.
Dope.
And I got it framed in a box.
How did you connect with Pun?
I was in Chicago. I was consulting Quincy Jones.
Cool shit. Rest in peace.
And a guy by the name of Mickey Benson called me, and he says, I got Fat Joe on the phone. And I didn't know Joe. And he says he is the next Biggie. I said, all right, I'll be in the office. Let's meet on Tuesday. So this is Thursday. I'm in Chicago. I fly back to LA, and I'll be in New York on Monday. I must have gotten, 8 to 10 calls. Don't do business with Fat Joe. He's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. So before the meeting, and he's literally right on time. Boom. So before we walk into my office, I said, can I talk to you over here? And he said, yeah, what's the matter? I said, I got 10 calls that you're a killer, you're an extortionist, you're this, you're that, like, and not to do business with you. I said, my family's a bunch of gangsters, right? I said, I want to show the world that they're all wrong and that they could all go fuck themselves. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. And we became brothers ever since then. So pun wasn't that. So this is Tuesday. And in those days I would be in New York Monday and then I would take a plane home Thursday night back to LA and spend it on the weekends. And I said, can we meet Thursday at 1 o'clock? Not even 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And he's like, yeah, no problem. He goes, and I'm going to bring pun. So I walk in around 10:30, and Matty C is in the office. Matty's never in the office. There was like a royalty check waiting for him that he never picked up because he was always in the studio and the office wasn't his thing. I'm like, what are you doing here? He goes, don't you have a meeting with Pun? I'm like, you're here for this meeting? And he said, yeah. The second they walked in, I said, who's your lawyer? They said, so-and-so. I was like, great, there's Wu-Tang's lawyer and he's 2 blocks away from the office. Right. I said, Tim, get over here now. We're doing a deal. And everybody's touching. He goes, you haven't heard music. I'm like, Matty, you're here. It's your job to make. I go, if you're here, that means he's special. And that's how we signed Pun, without hearing
crazy.
1 ounce of music.
Wow. 1 ounce
crazy.
of music.
Wow.
When you finally did hear the music, were you like, whoo?
Nah. I mean, Matty was such a perfectionist and such a hip hop snob. I knew that he had to be special. And there was something about Joe, his passion about him. Like, it was like love at first sight for me and Joe. Like, you know, but it was like, and shit, it would be 30 years in 1996, even though the album came out in 98 that we met. And we never had 1 ounce of a problem. When Atlantic was fucking with him, he called me now I'm at SRC, and he goes, I want to do a Terror Squad album. Again, I go, Joe, whatever you want to do. We've only had success together. And Lean Back came out of that without hearing an ounce of music.
You've been winning for a very long time.
Yo, your run is crazy, bro. Your run is crazy.
How did you feel when, rest in peace, how did you feel when Pun passed away? Because I kind of expected that to be the biggest disappointment.
Well, yeah, that. So I sell out to Sony. And I went from a staff of the most creative, brilliant people. 40 people who were just like, can you imagine like all of you guys starting a label, working at a label, and just like the debating and just being here until you guys got it right, and you all came and you all marched in unity.
Right.
I went from this staff to 300 people to a woman, I didn't even know what human resources was, to a woman calling me Mr. Rifkind, who was older than me. And like there were quarterly numbers, weekly numbers, this, that, whatever. And I was like, I'm done. And I decide to go to Hawaii and get my head together.
Okay, you said there were quarterly numbers, weekly numbers. What
Like
was
it became a corporate company.
it was just
It went from that loud to motherfuckers smoking a blunt in the hallway.
It's not fun no more.
To like, I got to do a quarterly number, a weekly number. I got to do a board call. This like the business of the music came into it instead of the music of the business. So me, my wife, and I only had 1 child at the time, went to Hawaii. And I decided I was going to retire. And I wrote Tommy Mottola a letter saying I'm done. And I was going to live in Hawaii for a year. And people at that time also started counting my money, which I wasn't used to. And
In what way?
like there was an article saying I was worth whatever the fuck I was worth, which was
200 million.
something like that, right?
It's in there right now.
Yeah. So and I'm like, why would somebody put that in there? And just like at the end of the fucking day, let me just have privacy. Then I started getting death threats and just like some real stupid shit, and it's like I started walking around with security, this, that, or whatever, and just like, man, I wasn't having fun. So I said, let's stay here for 6 months. And I FedExed. I said, can you FedEx this letter? And I'm playing tennis. And the only person who knows that I'm in Hawaii is my mother. Right? And I didn't fly. I flew privately. Like, I mean, I didn't go under my name. So if somebody's calling me, somebody died. I'm not thinking pun. I'm thinking just somebody in my family. And it's Rich. And he goes, it looks like Pun's dead. I said, Rich, either you're dead or you're not dead. And he says, you're right. I said, where's everybody? I said, Joe's at that. So I called Joe, and Pun was dead. And I broke down like a fucking 2-year-old. And I went to I'm talking to Joe, and I'm in my villa or whatever the fuck, whatever you want to call it. And I said, who knows? They said, nobody. I said, Angie's going on the air in 2 minutes. I said, he goes, I can't call. I said, I'm going to call her and tell her. So I called Angie, and I just booked this house or villa or whatever the fuck it was for 6 months. Like, I wasn't going home. And I'm dealing with Sony. Like, I went back into work mode, and I told my mom, get me a plane. I'm flying back to LA. I was strapping my wife, my ex-wife, and my son off, and whoever from the loud office in LA wanted to jump on the plane with me back to New York. And second I landed, my publicist and my brother with me, and we went straight to Joe's house. He was living, I guess, right off in Jersey, but off the river. And I remember just crying the whole fucking plane ride home from Hawaii to LA.
Rest in peace, Pun.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
How was it when Prodigy passed? I know he wasn't on the label.
So when Prodigy passed, my daughter was taking her road test. And we all have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly everybody.
All right. So do you guys have kids who drive yet? Or like, right?
Yeah. Terrifies me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my daughter, I'm not scared of much. I'm scared of God, and I'm scared of my daughter. That's it. Right. So she's living in LA, but she wanted to drive earlier. So she goes to Florida to take her road test. So me and Rich are best friends. Like, we grew up together. Like, we lived around the corner from each other. And I'm in Florida waiting for her to come back. She's literally taking the test, and he keeps on calling like 5 times in a row. I'm like, this is not good. So his father passed 3 weeks before my dad passed, and it was 6 weeks after I had the heart attack. So again, in my mind, somebody died. And it was Prodigy's death. And she's walking in from the road test. and my knees are buckling, and it's after my heart attack. And I'm like, you know, like, and she went like this. So I knew like she passed.
That's right.
And then we dealt with that.
Yeah.
That hurt because me and Prodigy we were so fucking close. Like, he would call, he goes, our oldest kids were pretty much, my son I think was like a year older than his daughter, but he would have to come to the office, you know, do artwork, you know, check, you know, whatever it was. And he goes, hey, you bringing your son to the office today? I'm like, not so our kids could play, knowing that I had a nanny, that the nanny could watch his daughter too. Right.
Right.
I'm like, what time you want them there? You know, and that's what
You guys had that dust up over his solo album.
There wasn't really I read about that dust up. We only had one argument our whole entire life. And it wasn't over his solo record. And I wasn't even there in person. I was on the phone.
So,
It was off the Infamy album.
What was the issue?
Corporate shit. He wanted to come now. And I wanted to push it. But it was the Mobb Deep record, not the
it was, I think, what's the name was supposed to be his first single, he said. Quiet Storm was supposed to be his first single of his solo record. But because of some kind of jumbling of the schedule, he ended up having to go with Keep It Thorough instead of...
So he first did, yeah, we called it White Lines, but
Right.
Yeah, that was his record originally. But I have no idea why. I never went into the studio. Chris, let him rest in peace, was managing him. So I don't know if we needed a first single. Don't forget, Quiet Storm, again, part 2, not part 1. Right? So I don't know, like, I wasn't in that meeting with that. So, but it was the remix with Kim and we could have, you know, that
Yeah,
it wasn't the original.
Right.
How did you feel the first time you heard the takeover? And did you know what was going on between Jay and Mobb Deep back then?
To this day, I still don't know what the fuck happened. like I said, I just, outside noise was outside noise. You know, it's like, me, Jay, and Dane, you know, we did Paid in Full together. Like, whatever that beef was, to this day, I still don't know.
So you didn't get a call like, yo, about to go in on your man?
You know,
No, I got
Summer
a call.
Jam scream.
The Summer Jam, I got the call, but they didn't call me about it. Like, fuck them, we're going to war. Like, then it would have been, nobody called. Like, Dame didn't call me, Jay didn't, like, and I've known Dame since he's 16 when he was managing Original Flavor. Like, there was no call. Like, I didn't know, like, there was, when we had the Terror Squad, when Joe had the Terror Squad team with the Rucker thing, like, there was never any call.
It was just stuff that happened.
Yeah, like, there was.
Was there a call about 50?
With what?
And Joe?
Well, that was SRC days. I didn't even, there wasn't a, I knew about it. And Joe, the MTV Awards was in Miami. And Joe's performing. And I just see a whole bunch of, now, granted, Mobb, I think he just signed 50. I mean, I think he just signed Mobb Deep and MOP to G Unit. And I see all these G Unit shirts, like with Mobb Deep and MOP, and I'm just all confused. Like I'm literally like I'm like, they're going after Joe. Like I wasn't thinking 50. I was like, why is Mobb Deep and MOP going after Joe? They're family. Like I was so fucking confused, and I've always tried to just keep outside noise
As outside.
outside as possible.
Smart.
Now we hear, rappers brag, "Oh, you're gonna have to move your release date." How often did things like that happen, and who were the ones that were like, "Oh shit, this guy's dropping. We might have to push this down here, or move this around."
I never understood that, because if you're dropping in like Akon second album and The Game, right? Game was coming off his second album too. And it was like, we had I Want to Love You and Smack That. I mean, you can't get too big a record, right?
Right.
At all aspects. From the white side, from the street side to,
Right.
you have Eminem on one record, you have Snoop on the other record, and it's and Universal Records. That music was, Game was on Aftermath and Interscope, which is also owned by Universal.
Right.
We should move the album. And I'm like,
That was the Game's second album?
I think it's Game's
I think
second
it was
album.
on Geffen.
I don't know if it was on Geffen. I mean, it was,
It was on
Geffen and Interscope to me
Same
were the
thing,
same.
yeah.
Were the same.
Right.
So I was like, at the end of the day, like, competition is good for everybody, first of all, right?
Right.
So don't forget, there were still record stores then. So if you're gonna go in and buy a Game album, you're most likely to buy an Akon album too. I don't like. So I said, no, we're keeping it. He said, we're not going to debut number one. I said, well, let's make a chart. Because to me, it wasn't never about the number one position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm caring about making money now, right?
Right.
So Ringtones is in now, right? Between Smack That and I Want to Love You. Like, if there was a chart just on money, we would have won by 8 times. And at the end of the day, that was Game's album was still a great album. I think it ended up doing 2 million. We did 9 million albums on that fucking Convicted album.
Sheesh.
Which was the Akon, the biggest Cinderella story, right? The
So
first
this
week,
is-
18,000. Was it 18 or 28?
I thought it was 3,000, to be honest.
3,000 first week.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story.
Mm-hmm.
I started SRC. I signed David Banner, and I
Salute Banner.
Salute Banner.
and I signed Akon. And I'm saying to myself, Akon's gonna be the biggest artist I ever signed in my life.
Why?
There was just something about these 3 records that just, one was Locked Up without Styles P.
Mm-hmm.
There was another record called Ghetto,
Get up.
which I thought I was gonna walk away and win every fucking Grammy you could possibly win. And Lonely, which I knew was a novelty record.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the deal December 18th on my twins, signed December 18th, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And holidays come, year's over, I got SLC Records. Second week of January, Universal calls a meeting, and I play him Banner. And Like a Pimp is independently blowing up.
Right. A little flip.
And I play him Akon. And Little Flip was the last artist I had to sign to Loud. So I said, this will be the biggest artist of my career. And everybody laughed at me. And
How did you know at that time? Like,
and wait, I got so fucking pissed. And everybody in that fucking room, including the chairman, hasn't sold more records than I've sold. They're saying this is gonna be bigger than Wu-Tang. This is gonna be 3 times bigger than Wu-Tang. And I said, fuck you guys, I'll see you in a year. And I told Gabi's wife was pregnant at the time. I said, you take Akon, I'm gonna take his brother. and there was no video. Nobody knew what he looked like. You stay close to home because your wife is pregnant, and I'll take Boo for the West.
Yeah.
And come Father's Day or Mother's Day, I get a phone call from somebody, and they said, "What the fuck are you doing in Brooklyn?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Akon's being played everywhere." He goes, "I'm at Kings Plaza Mall, and every car is bumping." I go, "Is it coming from the radio?" He said, "No,
Is it locked up?
it's locked up."
Clue tape.
But
Clue tape.
so this is Sunday. Ebro calls me, who's the music director at the time at Hot 97, and he says, "We're adding Akon to Hot, and it's already like number 5 call out, not even requested." So now it's my ultimate fuck you. I call up the CEO of Republic. I said, "Hot's adding Akon." He goes, "Listen," he goes, "Why are you lying to me?" I'm like, "Because I feel like it." Like, you know, and he's like, I'm like, "Use your fucking head." Like, I'm at the airport.
Right.
You use your fucking head. He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Look how we surrounded New York. You got Boston, you got Philly, you got DC, you got Connecticut. Look at the numbers. Now we're starting to sell records. We went from 3, whatever the number was,
Right.
it was the lowest first week I've ever had in my life.
Right.
Now we're at 30,000 a week. Right? New York comes in, this thing goes from 30 to 60 in a matter of 2 fucking weeks. And Tuesday, not even Tuesday, I'm on the plane. Before we take off, they call me and he's like, "You're right, they're adding in its number 5 call out." He goes, "How did you know this?" I'm like, "What the fuck do you think I've been doing the last 20 years?" Like, so, I mean, and the rest is, you know, and the rest is history.
Well, what I mean, seeing the first week numbers, what made you say, "Nah, I'm gonna push through. We're gonna push through on this"? Because most labels, they don't. You're done.
Yeah. They said we're shutting it down. I'm like,
Right.
Okay, you shut it down. Pete, we're gonna keep on going. There's not that many people could do what we could do. We could find the record. I'm not gonna say make the record. I had nobody and Nomad doing A&R, right? But Akon and Divine was self-contained, right? So it was like they can make the records, give us the record, and we could get it on the radio and we could get it to the streets within, and that's what we did. I'm not gonna listen. It's like it took my grandfather to settle me down. It took my father to convince me to start a record label, right? You think I'm gonna listen to a fucking schmuck that sits behind the fucking desk?
Not a schmuck.
Yeah, that's incredible. And to this day, you said 50 billion streams?
1.5.
1.5.
15 billion.
Wow.
I mean, still.
Still crazy.
Like you said, with no record
Nothing.
out right now, and it's still doing.
Go on
those numbers.
Spotify. Look at his numbers. See what his numbers are right now.
That's crazy.
Sure, why not? Why not?
So what keeps you wanting to return to this thing? Like, if you, with everything that's going on in the music industry now, well, I gotta ask, just because, you know, it's kind of mandatory now. Did you go to any parties?
Nah.
No parties. Did you know about the parties?
No. He was at my wedding, but that was a wedding.
Right.
You gotta ask.
Man.
Somebody in the comments would be like, "Yo, he was there."
Have you ever seen me at a club?
No. Have I?
I don't see you out.
Yeah, no.
I don't see you out.
In the office.
Decades in this business, I don't remember seeing you at an event, a mixer, a club, anything.
How you feel about all these indictments going out?
Yeah.
That it depresses me. It's not really. It's more civil than anything else.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's just like it's sad, and it's like I'm fighting with myself. Do I get off Instagram? Like, I don't want people to know, like, it's just like, again, we talked about it earlier. Why kick somebody when they're fucking down? We're all supposed to lift each other, and that's how I grew up, and that's how I was raised. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right. So you feel like, I mean, there's been a lot of federal presence around the music industry.
But there always has.
Always.
Always. I mean, from the Payola days to this, that, you know, so.
But what's so different now that, like, it seemed like they taking action now? Like you said, they've been around for a long time, but it seemed like now it's magnified.
We're still going after major celebrities.
You think it's targeted or?
That, honestly, I don't know. It's like, I hope the shit that I hear is not true. He has a young daughter that's, 2 years old or a year old now that might not ever really know his father. Right? He has twins that are, 16, 17 years old, right? Without a mother. I'm a parent, man. It's just like, I know how much, even though I'm the boss, I know how much my kids love their mom. This shit hurts me.
Yeah.
31.6 million monthly listeners.
Okay, so.
Damn, you was off.
Huh?
He's off by a million.
You was off.
Sorry.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the Wu-Tang series?
There were parts that I loved and there were parts that I hated.
They gave you a lot of hair.
I had a lot of hair.
They
Nah,
did.
you say you got hair.
I had hair.
They did.
I don't know why they put my father in it. My father, that wasn't a true thing. And I like that Jake Hoffman, you know, as a person, but like the character, you know, I wish he had a little bit more passion. Or showed a little bit more passion.
Right. So you wasn't a part of it? Like,
no.
Wow. They didn't reach out?
No, I mean, Riz is a partner with me for life, but that was his thing, and he would ask what you like, this, that, or whatever. And the one thing that really truly bothered, there was a guy who really looked out for us. There were two guys who worked at RCA. One was a guy by the name of Mojo Nicosia who ended up working at Loud. They made him, you know, and he literally went in a van and traveled. He took the guys in the van and went all over the road and literally, you know, that saying brick by brick.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And they didn't give him his credit much due. And then there's a guy, let him rest in peace, by the name of Skip Miller, who was head of black music. And they made him a white guy.
Wow.
And his wife called screaming at me. And I was like,
Wow.
nah, like she was a friend. Like he was a friend.
Right.
So I was like, I just didn't get it. So I think they added like a few characters into one. But
that's crazy.
You know, my heart hurts, especially for Skip's wife. But Skip was a proud black man. And he was great to us.
Wow.
And a friend.
Right. How do they do that? That don't make any sense.
People are constantly comparing the quality of music to, you know, the 2000s, the 90s, quality of music now, the emergence of 2-minute songs. How do you feel about all this?
I mean, of course, I'm going to say the music was better then. But
what do you think made it better?
I think there was more of a culture back then. What labels beside Quality Control and TDE are there that are really independent? Yeah, A Boogie has, or his team has.
Hybrid.
Hybrid label.
Right. But you had Def Jam, you had us, you had Bad Boy, you had Rockefeller, you had Ruckus, you had Death Row. Interscope started, you know, granted, they just started with a lot of money, but you know, Cash Money, No Limit, Priority, like I think there was a true culture.
Right.
Here, I truly don't get it.
You don't get it at all.
But
You don't get it at all.
no, I mean the records I like, you know, but like you know, I think you know he's a West Coast rapper, but you know I love Roddy Ricch, right? I love Kendrick. You know, Kendrick always says, you know, if it wasn't for Prodigy, he wouldn't be rapping.
Wow. Yeah.
Speaking of Kendrick,
That was a vote for Queens, if you guys.
Wait, so but this is I got a question for you guys, right?
All right, here we go.
You know, the record that, you know, Not Like Us, right? That reminds me of Keep It Thorough.
Oh my God, I love Keep It
Yeah.
Thorough.
Yeah, it was played on the keys,
Yep.
and you can kind of follow the pattern of. Wow.
So I just want to make sure that, you know, at
You weren't the
62.
only one here.
Yeah.
so, but speaking of Kendrick, how did you feel about Drake?
Doing what he's doing now?
Yeah.
The
I
song.
mean, he shot himself in the foot of that. I mean, that I have, I mean, no clue because, first of all, it's the same company, right? I mean, same parent company.
Right.
So if Interscope did anything different, you don't think Republic did the same thing? You know, it's just better records. I mean, that's it. There's nothing wrong, you know.
Better record.
Like, and I'm not an East Coast, West Coast, you know, I'm just gonna say a record is a record. Like, you know.
But in any way, can you see a hit being manufactured through boosting streams and bots?
No. The record has to come from your soul, man.
You can't shoot a mini bail, fellow Jewish guy. You can't help him out a little bit.
What?
Would you have allowed it? Like
No.
if you had an artist that's, yo, man, this guy said this and he said that.
Why would I? I'm not. I mean, then you're playing with fake money. What the fuck is that? What is that? What does it mean? Right? We got a family to feed, right?
Right.
So at Loud, we made our own charts. Like if we got these 10 stations, not even ads, right? Just from Mix Show, we knew we'd sell 300,000 albums. We get these many stations, we know we're going gold. And that's what we did. Every single that we put out. It wasn't ever about most added, number one, this, that, or I started having number one singles when I had to go over to Universal with SRC because they were a radio company. So I had to change my mindset. So my first number one record was Lean Back. Pop record. Single. And then the Akon run just came. Then it was normal.
Him signing Gaga, how important was that?
Well, I didn't see anything at it. I mean, it was important for the whole. Like, if you look at really what I brought into Universal, like through my family tree,
Branch, yeah.
right? You have Gaga. I don't even know her numbers, but the one that really came through was Justin Bieber through Scooter. I gave Scooter Asher Roth. I gave Scooter his first deal with Asher Roth.
Wow.
I still can't believe you only got one gift. Like, that shit is
Yeah, that's kind of wild when you think about it, right?
Wu-Tang gave me a great wedding gift, though. They really did.
But that's a wedding.
They perform Protect Your Neck.
Nah.
While you were signing your prenup, they protect you.
They paid for a good portion of the wedding.
Wow, that's dope.
Okay.
That's dope.
It's got to be hard to shop for him,
Yeah.
though. What do you get him?
Right.
What do you get him? What do you
How do you say thank you?
Honestly, it's only two things I want. A good basketball and a good pair of sneakers. I don't need anything else. I don't want anything else. Joe got me a TS chain maybe a year ago. I got a dog thing with my kid's name on it. and I got a knife in the Jew. It stands for something from a friend of mine. But
Other than that,
Okay, basketball and a pair of sneakers.
All right.
Heard you. What size do you wear?
11.
All right, y'all. all those artists we just mentioned.
Like,
Christmas
seriously.
is literally around the corner.
Man, go get you some shell tops.
Oh, bro, got you. No problem. I'll even throw in some laces.
I'm a Nike guy, so I consulted Nike for 10 years.
See, now you just shot yourself in the foot. Yeah, I'm a Nike guy. I can talk to Nike.
No, but it was weird. Like I had to call him when I worked for Ye.
Well, remember you said you never wanted to be famous. That's like a perk of fame.
What's a perk of fame?
Nike sending you stuff without you having to call.
Well, I did all that. So this it's a barbershop, right?
yes.
Right.
So this is how I used to market records, right? So we would take care of the owners or the managers. We would bring in capes. We would put in TVs when there were videos being played, and we would help do it. So before there was Nike, there was a company called Blue Ribbon Sports, owned by Phil Knight. And it was grassroots marketing, and he was selling Tiger sneakers. He was a runner, but he did it at track and field events, marketing wise. So Hank Shockley from Bomb Squad, Public Enemy, doesn't call me, produces a guy by the name of Travis Knight, who's Phil Knight's son, album. And I get a phone call one day. Will you take a meeting with us? Hank Shockley suggested that we call you to do the marketing. So I fly into Oregon, and we work out a deal to promote this record that's on MCA Records, and his name is Chili T.
Chili T.
Yeah. And
Are you
Google
looking
it.
up Chili?
Yeah, I'm looking up. Yeah, I want to know what Chili T was up to, man.
or just Google Travis Knight Chili T. See, right? And shit, they sent me to the employee store, and I must have bought it. In those days, $3,000 was still a lot of money, but a lot of money. And I bought everybody and their mother, sneakers and a sweat outfit.
Wow.
And we're going to their house after the meeting, and Phil says, "Man, some people bought 3,000. Nobody was like the highest, like because usually the athletes come in and just get whatever the fuck they want to get." So we developed this relationship, and then he said, "Why don't you come work for me?" I was like, "Phil, I want to be you." He goes, "Well, why don't you come in and just we'll figure it out." And he had a right hand, the guy by the name of Howard Slusher, who just passed away around a year ago. So, and his son is, I guess, working up there now. And I go, "You and Howard and Rich, we'll figure it out." So they flew after we figured it out. Like, I'll be a consultant, and they flew out a whole street team up to Oregon to Nike, and they gave me the run of the place. Like the first time I heard the Wu album, like when RZA sent it, I was at Nike headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon.
Wow. Wow.
Listening to it on a Walkman.
Yeah, but you need a good pair of sneakers.
Wow. So Travis Knight went on to do some things.
Yeah, big things.
Kubo, I love that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Kubo and the Two Strings?
Yeah.
You don't have young kids in it?
Oh, the
Nah,
animated
my
joint.
kids are fully grown.
Oh, they're fully grown. Yeah. Yeah, the animated joint.
I remember.
Yeah,
I saw that commercial.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
So what do you want to do now?
I want to put out records again.
Why?
I'm too young to retire. Music to me is the closest thing to God. It makes you laugh, it makes you cry. And it's something I love. I can't go to school. I'm not gonna become a lawyer. I'm not gonna become a doctor.
Is there someone you working with right now? Or?
I got two kids that are really I'm excited about.
From where?
One's from San Diego and the other one's from LA.
Okay. Oh.
One's a hip hop kid and one's an R&B kid.
Are we gonna be able to hear something from them soon, or?
Maybe the R&B kid, you might hear some of the songs he wrote.
Okay.
And then the hip hop kid, his name is Take 45. He has around 15 million streams collectively between the singles that we put out. Just trying to find the right home.
I have a dope artist who he got like 1 million streams on YouTube right now.
Right.
He's doing very good for himself.
Are streams your criteria now?
I'm talking about math.
I signed both artists because of what they sound sonically, not because of their numbers.
As you should.
In the past year, we've seen L drop a new album. Joe's album is about to drop.
Busta got one.
Busta's working on one.
Rakim, he working on one.
Do you believe in ageism in hip hop?
I don't want to believe in it. Like, I think a great album is a great album, and it shouldn't be like I was never a rock guy, and I remember I must have been in my late 20s, and I'm in LA and I'm driving home, and I don't know if you guys know what Coldwater Canyon is. So it gets you from like say Beverly Hills to like the valley,
Yeah.
And I'm driving, and I pressed. This is when you could press the radio station, and I ended up on a rock station, and I never really was. I'm like, and it was an Aerosmith record, and it was a ballad, and I was like, and I forget what fucking movie.
The asteroid movie.
The space book, yeah. And I'm like, this might be one of the best records I ever heard in my life. And these guys were 40 years old, 50 years old. It's like,
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
I don't know the name of the record.
I do.
Yeah.
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Oh,
And I was like, it bothers me. Like, I understand athletes, you retire at a certain age, you wish your
That's
legs,
physical. Right?
yeah,
It's different.
right? And it's like, we all heard Joe's album last night. Like,
Right.
he has some joints on that. To me.
Yeah.
Right? And like, why can't a 26-year-old give it a shot? And just like, just appreciate good music. That's, and Joe's a beast. He works his ass off. Like, so he's doing everything, social media wise, this, that, it's like, he's been sick, right? And he's not canceling anything, and he's doing what he has to do. And I really hope the youth gives it a shot. But to me, urban or hip hop, radio's coming back, right? Because if you're working in the factory, you're not listening to Spotify. You're listening to the radio. And I do believe you need both to get to that level of great success.
How do you feel about TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok. I know that's what everybody gives a fuck about.
Right.
It's just like,
That's not your thing. All right.
I hope I did good for you guys.
You did great. You did great. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. There might be a couple other things that we could get answered. No, I'm just playing. I grew up on the music that you either by proxy had a hand in presenting to the world. I fell in love with hip hop at the time that your label was taking off. it shaped my world. The music was everything at that age. So I appreciate you.
Oh, man, I appreciate this.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Get him a pair of sneakers, Matt.
Got you.
Philly, EGOTS.
I mean, y'all hearing what I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying? Take a lot for a nigga to get inspired, man. So much bullshit out the day, man. So much bubble gum. You know what I'm saying? I be having to get the urge to get in this bitch, man. You know sometimes you gotta let that thing ride, man. You know what I mean? Rushing this shit. Like waking up sluggish from a long night, had to go to the gym. And I still get in there and get the reps. Yeah. Rolling woods in my neck of the keeper, excellent in my ethic is catch a movie, kill the editor, bully the bullies, prey on the predator, smoke that premium. Niggas ain't regular, get it and whipping it, flipping it, accelerate. Lecture sliding through in the Tesla, handle the rock like the professor. Felt the pressure for the lesser, everything coming together. So relentless, more endeavors, hustling more than ever. Better get yours together, fucking them whores together. Catching you and your boys together. Good connection with God, put you and the Lord together. Heaven gates, nigga.